The passion, the energy, the power, the spirit of hardcore.
Yeah, normally I talk about legal topics, regulation of crypto at conferences, but I feel this is not a normal conference and I don't want to give a normal talk. And all of this kind of started a couple of weeks ago when someone from the Ethereum Berlin meetup group asked me if I would do them the honor of speaking at the 10-year anniversary. Oh yeah, at the 10-year anniversary of that event, and it really got me thinking. Like, wow, okay, speaking at this 10-year anniversary of the Berlin Ethereum meetup, where this entire ecosystem kind of started. It was really like the epicenter of Ethereum in the early days. What should I be saying there that has any meaning? And so I don't want to give the same talk as I ended up giving there, but I'm sort of freely remixing some of the thoughts, and some of them are pretty out there. I hope that they might stimulate some of you, and yeah, let's do it. So I'm from the class of 2014 when it comes to Ethereum. That's when I discovered it and got totally infected with a brain virus. And I would say that when we started out, it was basically, like in this room, a bunch of very like-minded and friendly nerds, you could say, computer nerds, who had the privilege at the time to just afford jumping into this very nondescript, undefined, non-industry as really something idealistic. And Ethereum originally had this idea of building a world computer. Nobody really knew what it meant, but it sounded really cool. Here's a picture that was taken exactly today, 10 years ago, in London. I was sitting sort of at the side in a room, watching Vitalik and other people at the time trying to get a local Ethereum client to work. And I was really deeply fascinated by the people, how open they were, friendly, incredibly intelligent, some insanely autistic, but overall just really, really cool people. Looking back 10 years later, I feel what got many of us hooked is the recognition of and the desire to overcome trauma. Trauma inflicted and perpetuated by coercive institutions. Institutions in that meaning are not just banks and governments, as crypto people like to reductively say it. It's all the rules of the game by which we play, willingly or not. To say it in the words of Noam Chomsky, who really interestingly, some of you might have seen this, it's on YouTube, in a conversation with Michel Foucault in 1971, he said, "If it is correct, as I believe it is, that a fundamental element of human nature is the need for creative work, for creative inquiry, for the free creation without the arbitrary limiting effects of coercive institution, then, of course, it will follow that a decent society should maximize the possibilities for this fundamental human characteristic to be realized. That means trying to overcome the elements of repression and oppression and destruction and coercion that exist in any society, ours, for example, as a historical residue." Now, personally, when I got into crypto, I never experienced being outside of society in the terms how crypto people traditionally define it. That means being born in the wrong country, being born in the wrong financial bracket, or having the wrong political views, skin color, or religious beliefs. My own personal experience of otherness was related to different topics, shame-laden stuff about masculinity, gender, sexuality, and I just felt I didn't feel into the heteronormative society I was born into in like southern Germany. But when it comes to crypto, you could say I was, totally unprepared for this entire thing. But 10 years later, I am wondering, what is this thing actually that we're all in here together? Now, what I was told, or what I thought I was told, or what I thought I saw in this, was that we would be playing new infinite games as people together on this planet. What I feel what we're actually getting is more of the same of what we already have. I feel this industry devolved to sort of the lowest common denominator, zero-sum money games, and everybody's just fighting for scraps and ego. And it feels super ironic because we came to heal trauma from coercive institutions thinking we would be done when our payment rails are peer-to-peer and censorship resistant. But it turns out it was actually never about the tech. Peer-to-peer money is good. A world computer is good. Public goods are good. But I believe actually the tech is irrelevant. I feel the question we need to be asking is, which future do we actually want? Now, to your left-hand side, you see Ayn Rand, who represents the idea of private property, free market capitalism, and the idea of the freedom of the individual as the highest moral imperative. And to your right, you see Rosa Luxemburg, a Marxist theorist, philosopher, and socialist fighter from Poland and Germany, ultimately creating the entity that became the German Communist Party. Now, I feel the answer to the question of which future do we want is not an either-or of super rampant capitalism or whatever obscene form of communism that we could come up with in 2024. I feel it needs to be a synthesis of the old. It needs to be something new. And I feel actually that Noam Chomsky, the quote actually continues, somehow said it. A federated, decentralized system of free associations incorporating economic as well as social institutions would be what I refer to as anarcho-syndicalism. And it seems to me that it is the appropriate form of social organization for an advanced technological society in which human beings do not have to be forced into positions of tools, of cogs in the machine, in which the creative urge that I think is intrinsic to human nature will in fact be able to realize itself in whatever way it will. So, I don't really know any answers, to be honest. But what I'm thinking is, maybe a mix of anarcho-syndicalism of the Chomsky kind and something with socialism and cooperativism wrapped into a word salad that appeals to the millennial generation. But how do we get there, and do we want to get there? Well, here's what I know. The new rails that we have built are meaningless if we don't use them for better coordination games. Free market capitalism is not a goal in itself. It's just a tool. The future I want does not commit to any single ideology. Instead, it gives people the freedom to associate and play infinite games. And unlike what Amir Taki said on this very stage last night, I don't think the dark forest is the internet rewilded with cryptography. I think the dark forest is where honest players are misled into toxic, static memeplexes that simply reproduce existing power structures. So I'm asking, what are we even doing here? Probably this room knows 80% of trustworthy players in crypto by 0 to 2 degrees of separation, just as an example. We could easily bring light into the dark forest and start playing better games, also for capital allocation. Or to say it in the words of Ian Grigg, who I met exactly 10 years ago on this very day at this Ethereum meetup in London. He said, you need groups of people who commit skin in the game, and that's, I think, what crypto can be used for. But then the game is something else, other. And the side effect is trust and identity. So let's play. Thank you.
What got you calmer and rational about this thought process from the initial emotional sort of like frustration that I mentioned at the opening talk that I feel every August before it is that I come here. Where did the shift happen for you?
So about a week leading up to this talk that I gave in this Berlin 10-year Ethereum thing, I started to shitpost on Twitter every like 5 minutes, just a raw stream of consciousness, sort of giving away all the thoughts I had that I was processing when I was thinking, what should I be saying there? And I felt like I was at some point really interacting with a hive mind, like with a collective consciousness of all the people that I was trying to reach out to. You, dozens of people wrote me privately like, hey, Florian, by the way, I'm reading your tweets. It's really crazy what you're saying, but it totally resonates. Keep it going. And so I felt like I was processing together with many other people what's happening actually. And I feel like now I'm, one step further and I can talk about it a bit more, constructively and, also with a curiosity of, okay, where do we go now, So yeah, I'm an eternal optimist. I think I wrote in the bio here on the website, so I feel that's true.
So two things then, and then we can the audience ask some questions. Was there a moment where the I'm a lawyer switch got flipped and you just went, fuck it, I'm going to say what it is that I have to say without considering any sort of legal liability from all of the people that, potentially feel, subtweeted in this?
Yeah. There is an element to that. I mean, it's a little bit like, it's a complex answer, but let me just give one facet of it, which is what Twitter has become now. It's called X. And I feel it's
called what?
X.
What?
Yeah, okay. Some people call it that now. And I think it has become a different kind of platform, and it's developing its own native medium of expression, and some level of being offensive is kind of even a part of it. And I think some parts of that are very toxic, but some level of that to me feels actually good and liberating. So yeah, I was at some point like, fuck it. Yeah, I'm a lawyer, but I also want to use Twitter in the way, or X, that it's intended to be used now, and that is about like being sort of radically sort of open about something. And I think only then you can even spark a conversation at this point. Otherwise, you're just not being noticed,
Well, we are closer.
All right.
I can have a picture of let's play together. This is one of the great slides. If you can go back to 80% of the players, if you can click back to that slide, there we go. This is a key point that I keep reiterating every time we have a conference like this. It comes together out of all of these interpersonal networks that we have, where we've met each other as NIMS, and that we've been at events together. I mean, Amir says it best. I mean, back in IRC days, we were just NIMS, and I used to say, and ye shall know him by what he tweets, right? And that culture's gotten lost, and also a lot of us have come out, so to speak, and whatever. But I never understood in the Ethereum world the concept of code is law, and that we're removing the messy humanness out of the equation that we've now seen just totally thrown out in our face by the DAOs, right? So how do we leverage exactly this thing that we all know to be true? Everybody in this room knows who the good players are.
Exactly. I think that is the key question I'm posing to the audience. Yeah, thank you for. I think that is the key takeaway. Probably that should be on the last slide. In a sense, like, what do we do with this? Like, because I feel just using cyberspace alone at this point is impossible. It's a dark forest. It's entirely co-opted. So how do we even find each other online? I don't know. We still don't have an identity system that's worth anything. Let's be honest. So we need to get from where we are here, which is insanely powerful, and who knows how long we can still do this? We don't even know either. How long can we freely meet in Europe? I don't know,
And a lot of people might not know that you actually have been building for many years a platform to address a lot of these identity and reputation issues with common ground. Have you found that the cryptographic primitives, which you've deployed natively from the ground up in the platform, have mitigated some of those effects and created a better road towards sort of reputation and communication? Or are you seeing the same sort of bullshit happening on your own platform?
I would say the biggest impact that we saw in connection with doing identity really in the way that crypto, I think, wants it to be done, was that it really drew a lot of people to the platform because they identified with that particular identity system. So it was entirely not related to cryptography, security, decentralization. It was just sort of a social indicator that, oh wow, there are many other people that use my favorite method of authenticating on the internet. So I also want to be there.
Which method was that?
That was the Universal Profile Standard, ERC-725. It has a very strong community around it, which just, they believe that's the future of the internet. And so it's really a social rallying cry for them to be there. And that to me is telling, because I feel in crypto we're very often, you know, trying to ignore this social element as opposed to leveraging it. It's our biggest asset, I think. We need to start doing it.
Do we have any questions for Florian from the audience?
Good talk. I have a question regarding what do you think about the W3C DID standard? It's like a meter standard that you can...
I have a lot of thoughts on it. I think one form of that standard has now made it into effectively European law and will be mandatory for all Europeans by 2030. So I think we will all be using DIDs in our EU wallet, I think it's going to be called, in 6 years.
And how much crypto-related methods are going to be in it?
No, it's pretty much the real deal. There are, of course, you know, still root nodes like governments that control everything, but in principle, it's that standard, I think, that they are leveraging for this. Generally, I would say any identity standard is good, and I think the DID standard has been done very thoughtfully. I also see verifiable credentials, which are, I think, a related standard, be more and more used. I think it's great. So this is a start, but I think where we're lacking is taking that, you know, valuable interpersonal relationship and trust that we have built over 10 years through personal meetings on conferences, transporting that into sort of a public good type resource maybe, that leverages maybe this or another standard, such that it's, you know, preserved on our ecosystem chains and more usable maybe for more advanced games.
Thank you. The good book says that the love of money is the root of all evil. Thucydides writes that the love of gain enabled the stronger to subjugate the weaker. You talk about the honest or trustworthy players in the cryptocurrency community or in our spaces. Sometimes I ask, is this cryptocurrency community something that you really want to be a part of, considering that many people do not seem interested at all in accomplishing political goals, but rather just running businesses, right? Do you have any thoughts on how do you separate the wheat from the chaff? How do you keep the hucksters out? Thank you.
Yeah, that is a very good question. I think I have a bunch of thoughts on it. Number one is that I feel an event like this already is a very sort of interesting ground to start, but also here we have a wide variety of political views, I would say, from extreme right to extreme left, and everything in between is probably here. Just, I don't know, I'm just assuming. And then we also know these categories are falling out of favor, and it's anyways everything different. So I'm just assuming it's a very pluralistic set of views that are represented here. So I feel that it's not about installing an institution that separates A from B. it's enabling self-selection of people into the bucket they actually want to be in, where they feel belonging to. And then from there, starting to allow them to play the games they want to play, but then play games between these pluralistic universes. That's sort of how I intuitively think about it. I don't know if that was in any way helpful to you, but that would be my answer.
One of the awesome things about being here is that conversations are not limited to stage time. And so please take the time to pick this man's brain and get his contacts
I'll be around.
and spread them all over
Thank you
the
so much.
internet. Florian Glatz, thank you so much.